Yeah,
Let's get into it, man. Let's get started.
let's get into it, brother.
So first of all, man, tell me like how's everything going? How's life? How's business? As a man, like just break some things down for me.
Yeah, on a macro scale, brother, everything's going well. I'm elevating, constantly working on myself. Business has slowed down a little bit, but that's nothing that I'm really worried about. Rather, I'm just focused on elevating myself. And
Mhm.
like I said, matching the frequency of the highest version of myself that I see. So just taking daily actionable steps, iterating, trying different things.
Mhm.
Um, Life as a man as well as good, bro. Just really staying focused and as you know, working on managing life as a young boss. How do we
Mhm.
manage our personal life with family, relationships, dating, also business, also pouring back into yourself personally so that you can be better, so that you can serve your clients and, you know, indirectly serve everybody that's around you. So for me right now, that's the main focus is really being the center of my world and
Mhm.
knowing where to allocate my time, energy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same vein, bro. Like, obviously it's been an adjustment moving here and getting used to everything, but yeah, bro, it's been a lot of just strategizing and finding the right way to serve people and just finding alignment in life. I think, I made a video around this recently where it was just, people don't necessarily have the right alignment with what they're looking for. They're all over the place. Their goals are everywhere. And it's like you have to take it one phase at a time. There's going to be a phase in life where you're building a certain type of business. There's a phase in life where you're building a certain type of physique. There's a phase in life where you're building a certain type of mindset. Like rather than taking all of that and just overwhelming yourself with it, it's just
Yeah,
like, how do you just take it one piece at a time? Because it's like a video game. You're gonna have different levels, and it's like each
yeah.
level require a certain skill set. It's gonna require a certain upgrade. So it's interesting, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And this is the part of entrepreneurship, especially as young men, that I feel is not spoken about. Like, this isn't a common perspective because, like, and dare I say, there's not really a lot of people doing exactly what we're doing. And if they are, they're not really talking about these little intricate details of how to manage your time and allocate your time, at least not on a like deeper level.
No, no. Prioritization is key, man. Like people don't understand it. Everybody wants to prioritize everything. It's like you
Yeah,
can't do that. Like unless you have longer than 24 hours in a day, which I'm pretty sure I don't know. Like I only have 24 hours, so I got to make sure at least most of those hours are well spent on one specific thing at a time, you know?
facts, facts. And for me, brother, like one of the main things I've learned it before, but like now it's more prevalent in the sense of I'm exercising it more, is like
Hmm.
just being selfish, bro. And by that, I mean like you only have a finite amount of time per day, and you've got to be selfish and block out blocks of time to focus on certain things. You can't be distracted here. You can't be doing this. You can't be doing that. It's like because if you're allocating your energy to so many different things, you're not really moving the needle in the specific areas that you want to. So
Hmm.
I've been
Hmm.
like dialed in on, okay, if I'm spending time with family, it's family. If it's business, it has to be business. There can't be no extracurricular, oh, I get a text, let's go do this. Nah, it's like it's this right now.
I get that. Yeah, that's a big one. So for you, I mean, like obviously time management, all of that, like what do you feel like the guys who are in your group, like what are they struggling with the most that you've seen? What are guys typically coming in with issues having? Like
Mm.
what's that big thing?
The big thing for the majority of the gentlemen that I service is that they have their minds are shackled. So for example, like I told you before that in my coaching program, we have this concept where we enable them to fantasize about the exact life and the men that they want to be. And so they have to essentially write down the script of their life. And once we get that clarity, then we can start taking the action. Well, I've come to find out that guys can't even dream. They can't even, bro, their minds are so shackled, they can't even dream about what they want. And that's a big problem, bro. When you're not safe, when you don't have freedom in your own mind, that's a big problem.
That's interesting because that is the same problem, even in the fitness space. It's the same exact thing. People can't even imagine themselves looking the way that they want to look. So they already write it off like it's not possible. Like I can't do it. I can't look a certain way. I can't feel a certain way. Even with dating, I can't attract a certain type of girl. Like there's always an I can't. Like self-talk is big. Man, I work on self-talk all the time because I have to audit every day. And I'm sure you think the same way and you tell your guys the same thing. It's like audit your thoughts. Do an audit every single morning when you get up. Because that
Yeah,
will literally that will take all of the pressure off of you when it comes to like obstacles. You already have obstacles in life.
yeah,
Why are you creating
yeah,
obstacles in your own head?
yeah,
Doesn't make sense.
yeah. That's a complete fact. We definitely have to audit every single day. For me, I always say that a man has to take the time to sit down and ponder because we have so many different distractions and things that we're constantly reacting to. In this case, the cell phone or friends or family, but you really have
Mhm.
to like take the time to like let your mind dump and think and see because your mind will tell you what's impressed upon it. You just have to sit still long enough. And so
Right.
now I'm able to sit back and just allow my mind to like dump and play out like a movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. Well, I reject that thought. That's not my thought.
So it's like you're basically it's PvP. You're playing against yourself every single
Yeah,
hour.
yeah.
So what do your guys struggle with victim mentality? Because I think that's a big thing. Even with my audience, I think a lot of people, especially with like African Americans, right, or just Black people in general,
Mhm.
like we struggle with victim mentality. Like, what's your take on that?
Mm. Good question. Good question. Huh. So you know what's interesting about my group, right? So I have different black people in my group. I got guys from literally Africa, like Uganda. I've got guys from, the Holland, like the Netherlands. I've got guys from St. Croix, the Caribbean. I've got African Americans. I'm proud to say that I haven't seen victim mentality yet, but I think that's because the way that I position my content, I
Hmm.
literally breathe that shit out. I'm very harsh on my guys. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not the easiest coach to work with because I make guys uncomfortable every day. I
True.
haven't seen a victim mentality, but the group is also supportive of guys. So it's like when you see that there's somebody dealing with something harder than you and we're encouraging them and they're getting results, it's hard to be like, oh, well, it's because I'm from this. I get it straight, bro. I say it straight from the get-go. I'm Haitian. I come from a poor family, bro. I didn't have a bed until I was 16. What the fuck
Mhm.
is your excuse? I was touched as a kid. I had a fucking speech impediment. Like, I lay it all out on the table. So I'm like, if I can be where I'm at today, what the fuck is your excuse? And once you set that tone and frame, they come in like, fuck, I can't even say shit. I just gotta get to work. Yeah, you goddamn right.
Hmm. Interesting. So vulnerability is a big thing because I think a lot of men don't know how to be vulnerable. Like, what does that mean to you? Because I know
Mm,
for me, it's a completely different meaning. Like, it doesn't mean that you're over here pouting and you're making excuses. That's not being vulnerable, but it's just being honest. Like, this is what I've been going through. This is like it's telling a story, right?
yeah,
So for you, how does that look? How do you train the guys to be able to not fear vulnerability, which is what the masculine space or manosphere or however you want to call it, like they push this no vulnerabilities, like be this stoic, like which I think is completely wrong. Like I don't think you need like stoicism is not that, but they label that as stoicism. So how does that work for you?
yeah. That's a great question. I think vulnerability, when expressed correctly, is actually strength. And I say that because as a leader, as leaders, we have to lead by example. So the reason why I'm able to service my guys at such a high level is because I have a profound understanding of myself. And I
Mhm.
realized that the more that I understood myself, the more I could relate to other people. Because surely if I was going through these issues as a man, there had to be other guys going through the same thing. So for me, I'm vulnerable in the sense of, I understand the man's plight. It doesn't matter where a man comes from. You feel me? I understand what men are going through, and I realize that being vulnerable in a sense allows me to connect with them on a deeper level and be like, yo, trust me, I literally understand. I was battling this and I might still be battling this, right? I never try to portray myself as like I have it all figured out. I might be a couple of the steps ahead of guys, but I tell you, yesterday I had some limiting beliefs too. And so by being that candid and honest, it allows the people that you service to be like, wow, like he actually understands. And then from
Hmm.
there, now that I've shown and demonstrated that I can understand, let me show you how to get out of it.
Hmm. So that vulnerability basically just helps you connect with those guys a lot more than usual.
Exactly. It helps me serve them better because I've been in their shoes.
Mm. And so even when it comes to YouTube, like creating content, stuff like that, right? Like how do you feel like connecting with these people and you lay it all on the table. I've watched your YouTube videos, like you literally talk about everything, right? And there's
Mhm.
some things that I'm like, man, like I I need to start talking more about these things because I think especially with YouTube and just overall social media, the way you present yourself, people may put you on a pedestal even if they're not trying to. They just do it because it's like you're on a stage. So
Yeah.
like, how do you plan on creating that level of vulnerability and also using it as a strength, especially with content creation? And I think a
Mhm.
lot of men can probably use a lot of this because there's a lot of men who are afraid to post on YouTube because they feel like they have nothing to offer, they have nothing to say, even though they've been through so much and there's people who can learn from it. Like, how do you weaponize vulnerability on social media?
How do you weaponize it? Well, I use it as a tool because for me, I'm always thinking from a macro perspective, and I have
Mhm.
this ultimate goal and version of myself that I see. And I said to myself, for one, I never wanted to be a creator that was not being authentically myself. And I said, if I'm going to help and service guys to the highest degree, I'm just going to be myself so that whenever somebody meets me in person, they're not, oh, well, he's different. It's like, nah, I'm the same person. I've said everything on camera. So when you meet me in person, like, look, you might see me at a strip club once in a while. You might see, like, I'm not trying to portray myself to be perfect. I'm portraying myself to be human. And so
Hmm.
by just being 100% yourself, you kind of mitigate the syndrome of like somebody seeing me like, damn, he's not who I thought he would be. It's like, nah, I was me since day one, champ. You know what I mean?
Wow. So, I mean, that's hard for a lot of people. Even some people who see it, they're like, bro, how did he become so vulnerable? Like, it's not good for authority and people won't see you as this person. And it's like, I think we're past that stage on YouTube. I think everyone's already maxed out the whole like I'm this big time guy. Like you see the
Yeah.
takes of people, they did it and everything, and it's like people are just tired of that. They just want to see like someone who they can resonate with and they just rock with you accordingly, you know?
Yeah. They want real. And I
Yeah.
think in this day and age, real is authority because, for me, being vulnerable and honest is so easy. But
Hmm.
every time, like I oftentimes have people would tell me, how do you do that? Like that's so strong of you. And I'm like, really, I don't look at it as anything that's like up here. It's just I literally don't give a fuck because one, I know where I'm going
Hmm.
and I know the credibility and the accolades that I have because of the work that I put on myself. So this is why I can get on camera and say, yo, this girl broke my heart and I cried and I went to Italy for like 4 months and I was in a little village living and I stumbled across Stoicism. Oh, he said that he got his heart broken, that he went to Italy. Yeah, I did. So what? So what? You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm really confident. And that confidence comes from the fact that I was so insecure and I overcame that and I'm overcoming it every day. So that's why I can speak like this.
I got it. That's very similar to me. It's like I'm not afraid to just say what it is, say where I'm at, say where I'm going, say what happened before. Because it's like if you don't do that, where's the content? What are you gonna talk? You just
Exactly.
spit out platitudes all the time. Like and people are gonna be like, bro, I've heard that 1,000 times. But
Yeah,
it creates original content. So it makes sense.
there
Like
we go.
I think a lot of men need to start doing that. Because to be honest, I think all men should, not all, but many men should put themselves out there on social media and just talk about their stories because there's not enough guys who are actually being truthful about their situations and actually giving value on how to get out of those situations. So all you see are
Mm,
like these guys at the top, and all they're doing is they're just talking about themselves at the top, and they never ever have some retrospection of like, okay, this is what I went through before. This is exactly what I did to get out. It's just like, oh no, I'm happy. Oh, be happy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, it's not like that, you know?
But you know what it is too? I think it's because first and foremost, 90%, I would even say 90, 97 to 98% of the people that get on YouTube that make content, it's not their full-time job. Like
No.
they're still working in corporate jobs. So when you put out as much vulnerability as I
Mhm.
do, as you might do, it can kind of intercept with them getting a job because these corporations are doing background checks on you, right? So I know for me, like a couple of years ago, like I was still working in tech. So
Mhm.
it did kind of affect me getting jobs, but
Interesting.
now I'm all in. This is my full-time business, right? So, but everybody doesn't have, I don't want to say privilege because I bust my ass for this shit,
Mhm.
but everybody doesn't have that ability to speak so candidly
Yeah,
online because it can affect their money.
that makes sense. So for you, it's like you were in tech, you had this career. So what about guys who are also trying to break out? Because I think a lot, especially the guys that come to me, they're like, bro, I want financial freedom. I want to do this. I want to do that. But they're stuck in that corporate rat race, right?
Yeah.
And they can't be vulnerable because that's just what it is. Now I have a different experience because I was actually very vulnerable on social media on other platforms before, and my managers were watching this and they
Wow.
liked it. They liked
Wow.
it.
That's
I was
crazy.
I was cussing, I was doing all that, but there was some sort of realness that allowed for them to be like, "Oh, I actually know who this guy is, so I'll hire him because I know him." Now it's different because I was in tech, but I was also in sales, so there's a certain
Yeah.
personality that works for that. But like, what would you say for a guy who is on the come up, is looking into, putting himself out there, still in corporate America, still grinding, and wants to make the transition? Like, how would you recommend a transition actually happen for that type of person?
Yes. So for that particular individual, I'd recommend that they figure out how to leverage their skill set that they're using in corporate to create either their own business or to at least freelance. Because what a
Hmm.
lot of people don't realize is that if you're working a corporate job for the most part, you have a skill set that they're paying you money for, which means you could work for yourself. Now,
Yeah.
whether everybody is built for that type of life and stress is a whole nother thing. But I always encourage my guys because everybody wants that time freedom, location freedom. Well, if you want that, you're gonna have to go in business for yourself for the most part. So I'd recommend that guys use that same skill set and just go into business for themselves.
So when it comes to even just being an entrepreneur, because I think this is going to be a good topic for a lot of people, like what's the day-to-day like mindset battles that you're going through, or just mental battles, and like how do you overcome that? Like give people the real of being a full-time entrepreneur online. Because I think everybody thinks it's nice, it's pretty. Oh, you get to post, you make money from
Yeah,
that. Like you're this millionaire, and it's like, bro, first of all,
man,
like, how does that work? Like, I'll speak on it after you, but like, what is that battle, and how are you overcoming those battles?
man, fantastic, profound question. I'm looking at my calendar right now. Man, I tell you this right now, man. The, when you're really dialed in, there really isn't a lot of time in the day to do anything else. Like, for example, battles that I face is okay, I might set my alarm for like 5:30, but the night before I didn't go to bed until like 12:45 and I'm exhausted. And I trained hard that day. I'm like, fuck, do I honor what I said and get up at that time and not really recover as well. So now my fitness pillar of my life is kind of gonna suffer, or do I allow myself to sleep till 7, but then
Mhm.
I'll feel like it's a defiance because I didn't honor the high version of myself. And it's like, okay, what do I do? And then getting up and just making sure that you're dialed in with everything. We're not perfect, but when you really want to go to these high levels, like you can't just be scrolling online. You got so many different things that's literally tugging at you. You're always trying to climb forward because business is competition. So you get
Mhm.
up, for example, like I look at mine, right? So I woke up, I trained, I got this meeting with you. I got a team meeting right after this. I got another call after that. I have 45 minutes where I'm gonna get a haircut, but really I could be getting in work. And then I have to go do research, film. It's like really being able to manage your time to be efficient while still
Mhm.
giving yourself grace. And all the
Mhm.
while, we're not even talking about getting all of these things done for the business. We haven't even spoke about your personal life. All the while, your family it is complaining that you're not answering calls, that you're not spending time. Like I'm talking about what I'm going through right now. Family is complaining. They don't understand, but what you're doing is going to directly benefit them. So it's
Mhm.
really being the center of an entire universe and figuring out how to manage all of these different pieces that are constantly shifting, constantly moving. Uh-oh, somebody dies. Now you got to fly down to this place. Now you got to go back here. But fuck, I got to delegate this task. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow. That's very, very similar to me. Like it's crazy how similar. I think most entrepreneurs can relate to each other, and it's a whole different like world than like 9 to 5, right? Because 9 to 5 is easy. Okay, cool. It's not easy because I know some people will be like, "Oh, 9 to 5 is hard." You have work to do, but at the end of the day, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's all you have to do. Versus entrepreneur, you have to be turned on throughout the whole day. Sometimes 15 16 hours a day, right? You literally have to
Yeah.
just be always turned on. There's always a problem. There's always something to solve. You're like a professional problem solver, especially in the
Yeah.
business we're in, right? Where we're building men up to be the best version of themselves. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be limiting beliefs that you have to go talk to the person about, all the while balancing everything else. You
Yes.
basically have to be Superman. Don't even get me started on having a relationship or even family around you. It's a
Yep.
whole different thing. Because it's like I can get up, I can work, and then my girl might want attention because all women want attention. So I have
Mhm.
to allocate a little bit of time for that. Then I have to get back. Your brain has to then be able to switch back on to what you're doing. So it's like process after process after process, problem after problem. And it takes a sick person in a good way
Yep.
to like
Talk to
actually
him.
be an entrepreneur, bro. Like you have to be, I've said this so many times. You have to be sick because I don't want this shit. I don't want it. I'm wired to do it. I didn't, if it was up to me, I would just 9 to 5 done. I'm cool. But I've been there and I think about the other side more than I think about where I'm currently at. So, and I think a lot of people when they come into entrepreneurship, it's like, oh, I I'm just gonna do what I did with my 9 to 5. They're gonna have the same exact focus. They're gonna have the same exact timeline of what they need. They need to be able to take off a whole weekend. It's like with entrepreneurship, you're literally your life is in your own hands. It's like meritocracy at its finest. It's like
Yes.
you can't hide behind a boss. You can't, someone's not going to sit there and tell you what to do. You could be, and this was me getting advice from all of these different people when really you're your own focal point as an entrepreneur. You know what you need to be doing. People are going to be telling you a bunch of different things to do. It's like you still have to focus on you. And it's like, I don't think any person should be an entrepreneur until they've developed themselves enough to become one. Like, stay at your job, do what you got to
Yeah.
do, build the mind, build the body, do what you got to do, then transition. And then there's a whole learning curve around that. But some people, they'll literally try to make the jump, they'll burn all the ships, and then they'll find out, like, bro, I'm not making 10K a month now. Like, I thought it was only going to take a month. These guys literally said it would take 30 days. It's like, no, it takes years. And then in
Yeah.
30 days, you might be able to make it happen. And then you have to consistently do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
man.
it's crazy.
That's 100% true. It's like, how do you manage all of these different things? And then also, how do you get better personally and pour back into yourself so that you
Mhm.
could be a better leader for your clients, for your girl, for your family. And then, like you said, something's always going wrong. Like whether it's a software stops working and now it's a bottleneck in all the other systems in the business. Now you have to get on support, but you can't contact them. It's so difficult to find. And then you have to go, it's like it never ends.
Mhm. And then it gets harder because you kind of don't have time to focus on yourself. Like you do have little points of time, but you also have to give everything you have to a business. You have to give everything you have to family, friends, loved ones, all of that. Then you have to give everything you have to clients. Like then it's like you feel like you're spread so thin, but that's the whole point because you have to from 0 to 1. And then from
Yeah,
1 to scale is like, okay, now I can hire people. Like
yeah,
everyone's trying to basically have the schedule of somebody who's hired a bunch of people in the very beginning when it's like, bro, you're gonna have a lot of tasks to do. You're gonna be the CEO, you're gonna be the sales guy, you're gonna be the operations guy, you're gonna be the marketer because you're making content, you're gonna be the customer support for the people that you have. Like it's I don't want to romanticize it because it's not romantic at all.
it's
Like
not.
it's
It's
I wish
not.
it was.
It's not, man. Like, but when I tell you, like, even in this last week of traveling, trying to enjoy some time with family, I'm still
Mhm.
taking calls in the car. I'm still thinking about, fuck, I'm taking 3 days off. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. It's like it never ends. And honestly, like you said, you gotta be sick because I fucking love it. I like as much as I might seem like I'm complaining, I love the chaos. What is what is the other option? To not have autonomy over your life? Fuck
Mhm.
that. I love this shit.
Wow. Yeah, it's like I said, everybody, people who are in it who are successful never wanted it to begin with, to start. That's one thing that I don't think anybody realizes. Like you get forced into it. Whether you get forced into it because you lost your job, whether you get forced into it because your bills superseded your income that you were making at your job, like people just get thrown in. And so it's like you're constantly fighting and then it's player versus player. So it's not like you just have somebody and you're just mindlessly doing work. It's like you're competing against the next entrepreneur, the next guy who has the same offer as you, that's putting out the same, if not more content than you.
Yeah,
And so you constantly have to check yourself. And it's rapid feedback. You constantly getting feedback. Like, bro, if you don't get any sales for a week, you have to go back and be like, okay, what went wrong? Was it the sales calls that I was taking? Was it the funnel that I had? Was it the content that wasn't hitting as well? And people are not ready for that because everybody wants like delayed feedback. That's what 9 to 5s do. It's like every system is slow. This is my biggest thing that I always say. The system is very slow. You get a paycheck every 4 weeks or every 2 weeks. You know what's coming in. Like your rent comes in at this time. As an entrepreneur, every single day there's something that has to happen. There's
yeah,
some expense that you have to incur. You always have to be moving fast. And I think for the average person, they don't think about how fast you need to move. Like you can't be stuck on a logo for a week or two. You can't be stuck on a business idea for a week or two.
talk to him.
So it's like, how do I create this rapid iteration, like moving fast? Bro, I've hired people. They're like, bro, it'll take me like 2 weeks to make this landing page for you or this funnel. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna do it in a day. I
Facts.
just get it done in a day. And they're like, bro, how'd you do that in a day? That looks really good. It's like, because I don't have time. I
Yeah,
don't have time to be waiting. Because then you take 2 weeks, it doesn't work. Now you have to change again and then wait another 2 weeks. Entrepreneurs don't have that type of time. So it's like, I think the average person should know this type of stuff before they decide, like, oh, I want to get that amazing 10K a month thing. It's like, no.
Yeah, yeah. And you just touched on something that is so important that I don't see or hear like spoken of enough is that it's hard to find somebody that's going to care about your business as much as you do. Like, oh, it's going to take me 2 weeks. It's like, I don't fucking have time for that, right? So it's like once you do start to scale, it's kind of tough for you to like relinquish some of the control and delegate to hire people that's going to help scale you further. And that's something that I don't really hear enough about. Like, for example, like with me, when I brought on my COO, thank God, like I found somebody who is as driven as me. Like when we talk about something, we do it the same day. We're both like on fire. It's tough
Mhm.
to find people like that. It's tough to find a team like that, right? And so it's like we have to be moving every single day. There's constantly charges coming in, invoices coming in. You have to see, you have to see what the marketplace is doing. How much market share can you take? What can you implement? How can you distinguish yourself from the others while still understanding what the demand is? You have to be literally a psychologist. Yeah, like it's everything. Business is going to take your all.
Mhm. It is. And some people don't have all to give because they still figuring out how to even provide more value for themselves. It's like, yeah, it's crazy, bro. Like I think more people should talk about it that are not already
Yeah,
ahead. Like if you're in the process, you should be telling people like this is how it's gonna be. This is how it's going. These are the struggles. These are the setbacks. Like nobody wants to talk about that because everybody wants to just get behind the whole like romanticized view of social media and entrepreneurship. And it's like that stuff isn't easy. But one thing, and we can even transition into that, like developing yourself like as hard as you can. So like what does that look like for you? Like what is your day to day in terms of like keeping yourself fine-tuned and even improving yourself? So because your business will never rise above your level of self-improvement. So like how do you make sure that you're ahead of your business when it comes to yourself?
great question. So, first and foremost, as a mentor, I have a mentor that I hired. So, I do work every single morning, first thing. First thing I do is I meditate, I work on myself, I go over my goals, and then I might have like a call, but I always have some form of work to do because I'm a coach who's also getting coached. So I work on myself in that regard. Secondly is fitness. So I give the first portion of every day to myself. My
Mhm.
health and the mind and the spirit are the biggest things for me. So now that I've got all that stuff done in the morning, then I can get to work. And then somewhere towards like the like I want to say like the latter half of the afternoon and the evening, I give time to family so that way every pillar of my life is getting tended to. But for me, first things first, every day has to be working on my mindset. That's the first thing.
Mindset, mindset, mindset. Why is mindset so important? Because I think a lot of people they get it, but they don't get it. Like they think about mindset and it's like this term thrown around, but nobody truly knows the power of their mind.
Yeah.
Like what does that mean to you?
There is no reality but the reality that you see from your mind. And so, whatever you accept to be true, whatever you hold dear to you, is your reality. So that being said, if one can understand that, you would understand why it is so important to work on your mind. If your mind is not healthy, I don't care if you had a $200,000 month, it's not going to be sustainable. I don't care if you have a loving marriage, it's not going to be sustainable. If you have friendships, like whatever you have, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to thrive. It's not going to be enjoyable. You're not going to be able to flourish and level up unless your mind is healthy and sound. From a sound mind comes everything. So this is why for me, I work on my mind so much because without it, there is nothing. There is no business. There is no me. If my mind isn't intact, there is no me. I can't lead. I can't serve. I can't help. I can't even I can't even take a piss. So that's why I work on my mind so much.
Hmm. What are some things that you would recommend for people to do? Like to be able to develop their mind, to have a stronger mind, to be able to be more positive in terms of their beliefs of themselves. Self-image is everything. So like,
Mhm.
what are some things that you do and you'd recommend to other people?
In the initial stages, sit still for 30 minutes. Don't do anything, just sit still and observe your thoughts. You have to become conscious of what you're thinking. Once you are able to become conscious of what you're thinking and elevate your awareness, now you can see what is impressed on your subconscious mind. Just observe the thoughts. Once you know those thoughts, write down exactly what you want. Again, take time to sit down and ponder. This might take, for the novice, this might take 4 to 5 days for you to be able to sit down still and just think. From there, visualize. So we have higher faculties, right? One of those higher faculties being imagination. We have the capacity to have abstract thought.
Hmm.
So visualize exactly what you want over and over again, 2 to 4 times a day. I have every guy in my program doing this 2 to 4 times a day, working the muscle of being able to see what you want and then pairing up the action with what you see, getting real clear, right? Brevity on what you want. And so now, as you're seeing this, as you've written it down, your RAS, right? Your mind is going to confirm and affirm that you are 100% the man that you say that you are because of what you see in your mind and what you're constantly impressing. Now, this isn't going to be easy, right? Because you have a current paradigm and self-image, a way that you see yourself that's been conditioned from your environment, those around you. So oftentimes what happens is once an individual does this around day 30 to like day 45, once they brought in this brand new concept of who they want to see themselves as, there's going to be an internal war and conflict. Now, one has to maintain this state of this brand new version that they want to be and the old, and they have to flood it out by visualizing, thinking about it, and also taking the action. So once you're able to do that, this is how you can really cultivate a strong mindset.
Got it. That makes sense. And so for you, obviously your mindset's big. You were in Florida. You literally moved to Colombia.
Mhm.
You're back now for a little bit. Like, how did you program your mind to even fathom yourself going there? Like, we both are Haitian. We
Yeah.
both come from similar backgrounds. Like,
Hmm.
even for me, there was a mindset shift that I had to have where it was like, I have to go do this thing. I have to expand. And I think a lot of men are trying to expand, but they can't even see where they could go. So like, how did you do it? Like, how did you position yourself to be able to make the leap and go overseas?
Honestly, what's funny is I never imagined myself living in so many countries that I have now. I just knew that I wanted to be a global Renaissance man that spoke multiple languages, that was doing all these things. And then opportunity started to just present itself to me, and my brain started to like affirm that I was that guy. Like, for example, when I moved to Colombia, I randomly had a friend that was there that invited me over there for like 6 weeks. I went there and that was it. You feel me? Like when I went to Turkey or Italy or Iceland, it just happened, right? It just so happens that the girl I was dating in Colombia, right, did me dirty. I was like, fuck it. I had another friend in Italy. I'm gonna go live in Italy for like 4 months. That made me
Wow.
better. It's like all these experiences just like kept pushing me in alignment with the man that I wrote down. And it just started happening like that. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so pretty much out of like necessity to a certain extent.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
similar to very, very similar. Like everything's been out of necessity. Moving from state to state. Went from New York, moved to Arizona because I was getting involved in some bad energy, bad people, bad influences. Moved to Boston for school, moved to San Francisco because I wanted to get into tech, like moved to Utah, like now I'm in
Yeah.
Romania. It's like, and even this was through necessity. Like my girl came back here and I had to come back and I had to kind of put a flag here, like, okay, this is my first place to live in Europe. Like for a long period of time. So it's interesting. I think a lot of people they don't think about where they want to go. Like you already knew that you wanted to be this global renaissance man. I think a lot of people don't even have a character creation like session with themselves like, okay, this is who I want to be for a long period of time or this is who I want to be over the next 3 years. And they're kind of just like throwing darts in the dark like I hope this hits,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when it comes to living overseas too, like what are the top 3 countries
Oh
that
man,
that you would either recommend somebody else to live or that you're considering living for a longer period of time?
man. I always get asked this question, bro. And
Hmm.
it's tough. It's tough. It depends on what an individual is looking for. If you're an individual right now who is on the up and up and you're building your business and you don't have a lot of capital, but you want to still have a great quality of life, date some really gorgeous women while you're building up your business, but you have discipline. You're not going to be out there going out to the club every night. I would say Colombia is the perfect country for you.
Wow.
The cost of living relative, right? Obviously, if you earn in dollars or euros, you can have a really good quality of life. Most people don't have the discipline to live there and be focused like me because there's so many distractions, the women, the clubs, guys get involved with drugs and all this shit, right? But if you have the capacity to focus and you want a good quality of life, right? I mean, you could really take care of yourself. I get regular deep tissue massages. I train at the best facilities. I'm locked in. Colombia is great for you. Uh, if you want a good life with different culture, right? I
Mhm.
mean, Italy is also cool.
Italy.
I
I've never
enjoyed
heard
it over there too.
of
I didn't feel so with Italy, right? I definitely enjoyed Italy, but there's just the energy of Latin America that I feel is the only thing that can match the energy of Latin America is Africa.
Hmm.
Is
Really? I've never
Africa.
been to Africa.
You should. You
What
should.
part?
I'd recommend you go check out Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. I'd recommend that you go check out South Africa. I'd
Hmm.
recommend that you go check out Tanzania, which is a little less developed, but that's
Hmm.
okay. You know, Ghana is cool too. Like it's not my favorite, but yeah,
Okay. So you said Colombia number one, Italy number two, Africa number three.
I'm not sure if I could say it's number one, number two, number three, but I'm just saying for a young man that's building up himself, his character, his business, that can stay focused, Colombia is a good option. Uh, I kind of don't even want to say this next one on camera because I don't want to blow it up. You feel like I don't want the passport pookies to go out there and fuck it up, so I'm not even gonna say this one. I'll tell you
Let's
behind
go.
closed doors.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah, yeah.
mean? But yeah. Colombia is cool if you can focus. Mexico is cool. Um, Portugal's okay. Spain is a little bit pricier and doesn't
Yeah.
have as many amenities as some of
Okay.
these other countries. Uh, yeah, I mean, Thailand is cool as well. But again, most guys can't focus like us. So if you can't focus and you're a horn dog and you go to Colombia and Thailand, you're gonna lose your mind.
About to get packed up in the back of a van. You wondering what happened. Oh, I thought this was
Eh,
cool now, bro.
Exactly. Most guys cannot focus. So I'm kind of apprehensive to say Colombia because we know what goes on in Colombia. But there's a different side. There's also a high society in Colombia, right? Of people that are killing it, crushing it, grinding, right? So it's like there's two sides. But most guys, if they go to Colombia or Thailand, even Italy, like in Milan, I got into some trouble in Milan. You feel me? Like messing. So it's like you could lose your mind.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, from what I know, man, like any man that's trying to build themselves up, I think they should go to some global hub somewhere. Like There's Thailand, right? I think Thailand is really good because there's a lot of entrepreneurs there, a lot of nomads. You can connect with people. Obviously, Dubai is big. Like,
Yeah,
I think if you can make it, what I've learned about Dubai, though, just from doing research, it's not as expensive as people make it seem like.
that's true.
I think it just depends on what you're looking for. It's the same way, like you go to Colombia and you just start acting crazy, like it's gonna add up. But it's like
Yeah,
if you're low key and you step out every once in a while, like these global hubs are not as expensive, I don't
that's
think.
true.
And yes, Colombia, of course. I think Colombia is big. You seem like you like the Latin countries the most.
Yeah, I do because I like energy, I like flavor, and
Yeah.
also I like people that are warm and open. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, like in Europe, in the European countries that I've stayed in, I've
Hmm.
always I've always been treated well.
Hmm.
Always. I've never had one issue.
Hmm.
However, there's something about Latin culture. The people are so warm, open, inviting. They'll invite you to come over and eat. Which, by the way, I'm not saying I haven't had this treatment in Europe. It's just Latin culture is different. African culture is different. The people are just so open and warm.
Hmm. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, I'm living in Eastern Europe now. I will say they're very warm here. But again, my girl's Romanian, so like it's gonna be a lot easier to move around. But if I was single and here, it would be tough. Just
Mm,
because the people aren't necessarily, and maybe it's also because I'm not in a global hub. I'm kind of in like a like sectioned off like village type area,
yeah.
but they don't really speak English that much, and a lot of them don't desire to speak English. So it's like I'm walking around Google Translator, just going around, maybe know a couple words, stuff like that. But yeah, I think from my experience in terms of cultures, like the Latin American culture is very, very different. Never experienced African culture in Africa to know. Um, but yeah, it makes sense. I think for someone who's starting out, like go to a place that is a global hub, that there are like mannerisms that you can feel accepted in,
Yeah.
and life becomes a lot easier. I think it's proximity at the end of the day. It's like if you want to move somewhere, like move somewhere where there's proximity to people who are doing better than you. Because the one thing I know for a fact, if you feel like you're rich, you're not around the right people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And to add on to that, I wouldn't recommend you stay in Colombia super long because once you start to earn a certain income, you do like unless you go to certain cities like Bogota where there's like a lot of wealthy, higher society people, like in Medellin too, but you can
Yeah.
start to get comfortable. So
Mhm.
this is why even for me, I'm moving next year. You know what I mean? Out to Malaysia. I'll say it, fuck it. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which you can meet a lot of big dogs over there. You
Really?
have, yeah, right?
Hmm.
I didn't want to say it, but fuck it, you feel me?
Hey,
Yeah, it is what it is.
maybe like a tiny fraction of the people watching this will stay to the very end. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
You probably
But
interesting. But
yeah, I would say Miami, Dubai, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, you feel me? Obviously, like New York City. There's certain cities and hubs where you can meet a lot of affluent people, and just by
Mhm.
being in proximity to them,
Mhm.
like you can really elevate. The reason why I say Malaysia is because it's in Southeast Asia. The
Mhm.
cost of living is cheaper, and in comparison to Colombia, it's similar in price, but it's way more safer. But it's
Interesting.
also a business hub, but it's
Okay.
it's not as crazy as Thailand. There's not that many sex tourism going there. It's not as sexy as Thailand, so it's a lot more like low key, and it's a Muslim nation. So for me, I'm drawn to the fact where I can go there, I can focus, it's low key, I can live a great life, great luxury, right? And I can also get a 2-year visa, stay there, lock in, work, have an elevated quality of life. And so that's why.
So when you're looking at the whole situation of like the visa, everything like that, Kuala Lumpur gives you a 2-year visa. Is it harder? Because that's another thing people don't understand is like the whole visa.
Mhm.
situation from place to place. How
Yeah.
does that,
So
how do you think about that?
how do I what? Sorry to cut
How
you
do
off,
you
man.
how do you think about the whole visa situation? Like, how do you strategize to figure out where's the best place based on the level of difficulty of getting the visa and all of that for you?
Yeah. So for me, I like to be comfortable in the sense of I like amenities. For me, I like a mixture between the modern world, but also like the rawness, right? So that's why I love Colombia. It's
Mhm.
raw. It's raw, but there's still extreme luxury. In Malaysia, same thing. Now, in terms of the visa, I don't like to be flying around too much. Like I'm building a business. I like to be still.
Yeah.
So I look for countries where at the bare minimum I could stay there for an entire year and just sit still and just work. I like to work. So with the there is a digital nomad visa in Malaysia that allows you to get a visa for a year and then the opportunity to extend for a second year. In terms of the requirements, you just have to bring in, I think is $2,500 a month consistently for 3 months and show it, and then you can apply.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great. So for
that's
any
it.
guys listening, if you listen to this far, Malaysia, that's the spot to go to.
Yeah. Now it's not as sexy as Thailand. There are, whores, which is good.
Yeah.
I
Way
I like to focus. I only
better.
like to have a good time like that when it's you feel me like I won and then we can go out. Otherwise
Mhm.
than that, like I love to work. I love
Mhm.
what we do, bro. I love to work.
Same. Well, this was good, man. Well, this was a great chat, man. I hope guys found value in this. Can't wait to put this out there. But yeah, I'll put all of your links in the description as well so they can check out your community. They can check out your coaching. They can follow you on Instagram. They can follow you on YouTube as well or subscribe to you on YouTube. But this is good, man. I appreciate you for hopping on.
Indeed, brother. As always, man, you already know it's always a pleasure talking to you. I salute another dog that's killing it. And at the end of the day, bro, anything that we want is ours. We just got to continuously weather that storm, keep growing, and figure out how to manage all of these different things that we're dealing with. You feel me? As young
Yeah,
bosses.
for sure. For sure. Well, until next time, YouTube.